Hi, and welcome to Positive Relationships. My name is Irene Atia, and I'm a Christian counsellor. Over the next couple of episodes, we're going to talk about intimacy in marriage. This topic is specifically about marriage and about intimacy within a marital relationship. Let's define intimacy before we get into it. Intimacy is defined as the state or fact of being intimate association or familiarity. To be intimate with someone is to be close, to share most private or personal feelings or information. And intimacy in marriage relates to a number of areas. It relates to emotion, it relates to spirituality, it relates to intellectual relationship, it relates to sexuality in a marriage, and it also relates to recreational activities. Intimacy is not an end goal of marriage, but it's a journey that lasts throughout the marital relationship. To be intimate with your husband or your wife is to know all there is to know about them. And that takes a lifetime of getting to know one another and talking to one another and connecting with one another. Before we get into intimacy in detail, and before we talk specifically about sexual intimacy, there are some myths out there that we really need to dispel. I want to go through some statements with you, and I want you to consider your beliefs and your thoughts about them. These statements are actually not true. These statements are false things that we have either been told as we were growing up because of cultural experiences or just poor teaching, but they're not true, and unfortunately they've formed part of the issues that a lot of couples face once that they enter into a marriage and enter into a marital sexual relationship. The first is that sex has been said that it's only a physical act. This is not true. A sexual relationship in a marriage encompasses every aspect of the relationship, and every part of the relationship bears impact on the sexual relationship within a marriage. The next myth is that sex is a duty in marriage, and that is also untrue. A sexual relationship between a husband and wife is born out of love and care and affection, and is sanctified and is holy. Another belief is if it feels good, it must be bad. Or, as others have put it, for Christians, it's not acceptable for them to have pleasure in their sexual relationships once they're married. That is simply untrue. In a sexual relationship within a marriage, pleasure is expected, and in fact, it is something that is required in order to maintain a healthy sexual relationship for a married couple. Another myth is that sex is the most important thing in a marriage. Well, it's not. It becomes an important factor in a marriage when it becomes an area that is problematic or that is a cause for concern in a relationship. But it is not the most important thing in a marriage. Another one is that God hates sex. It's a sin and it's the result of the fall of man. Again, this is untrue. God has sanctified marriage and has allowed it, and He is the creator of marriage. And part of marriage is a sexual relationship between a husband and a wife. So a sexual relationship between a husband and a wife within a marriage cannot be seen as sinful. Another belief is if a husband and a wife love each other, then there is no need for a sexual relationship in the actual marital relationship. Again, this is false, and it's an untrue statement that has unfortunately been taught to many young people. Also, it's something that happens only at the honeymoon and then only upon request thereafter. Again, this is untrue. A sexual relationship in a marriage is part of a healthy, wholesome relationship in a marriage. It forms one part of a marriage that continues throughout the lifespan of a marital relationship. Other beliefs that are false are things like women bleeding the first time they enter into a sexual relationship with their husbands. Medically, this has been proven time and time again to be false. Other things like that it being normally a painful experience for women is also untrue. Generally, it's a painful experience for women where they're forced into a sexual relationship, where within the context of a healthy, loving marriage, there shouldn't be a painful experience. And if there is, then medical attention is required. And that sexual relationships are separate to everything else in a couple's relationship is completely untrue. Sexual relationship in a couple's marriage forms part and parcel of their entire relationship, and other aspects of the relationship play into the sexual interaction between a husband and a wife. So it's important to know the myths, and it's important to recognize them as myths, because it's once we know that they're myths, we're then able to move forward and look at the truth and look at what intimacy actually is in a healthy and loving marital relationship. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next time on our next episode of Positive Relationships.